We're going to move on to now Sarah Keppel with Lakewood City Council, and she will be our next presenter. So, Sarah, take it away.
All right, I guess I'm ready. In elementary school, we read the fictionalized account of the real Hilda Edwards, who in the early 1900s resolved to do three things that were very difficult for women of that era to do: to get her education, to see the world, and to make the world a more beautiful place. Returning from her travels after completing her education, Ms. Edwards began planting lupine seeds and would harvest them every year and continue to spread them along the coast of Maine. And the ancestors of those flowers can still be seen today, beautifying the world, the coastline there. This reminds me of the resolve of the women in my family. My triple great-grandmother, who left rural Ohio to sail around the world, and her daughter Carrie, who was the first woman to graduate from Cornell's Lewiston Institute in the late 1800s. Carrie's daughter Eva would also continue her education, graduating in 1912 from Ohio Wesleyan. Francis also valued education and resolved to use it as a public school teacher, and also continuing education through being a 4-H mentor and through her Ladies Progress Club, continuing to help women in the area. Her daughter Mary would follow in her footsteps as a public school teacher, getting her degree in music education. She taught hundreds of young people to raise their voices and would often stay up late into the night sewing costumes and painting sets so that every child could feel special and feel that they're part of something bigger than themselves. Feeling a part of something bigger than themselves was part of my parents' resolution for us, and they resolved to help us truly see the world through extensive family travel and cultural exchange. They planned and saved to see this resolution come to fruition so that we could build empathy and see others. By the time I graduated, whether I realized it or not, the resolutions of my foremothers were deeply seated in me, and I became the latest in a long line of keepers. I used my education when I started working in the public library sector, and working in multiple communities, I noticed that students who were served by lower funded schools were following significantly behind their peers in the areas of technology education and 21st century learning skills. I resolved to do something about it, and so I launched a number of initiatives, including early technology literacy stations, audio and visual recording studios in the branches, and librarian-led literacy-based robotics clubs. Over time, we built a real culture of peer-to-peer innovation, and I was resolved to spread the seeds of technology literacy beyond the library walls. So I launched my business, GigaLearn, and I wrote to spread technology education to more people in more places. And I wrote 2 professional books to help share what I learned with those who were resolved to do the same in their own communities. As a public servant and being out engaged with the community, I'd always been socially aware, but after the 2016 election, I resolved to do more. I think we should be having the other slide. Okay. Resolved to do more. The online group Pantsuit Nation became the Action Together network. And at the first meeting of the Lakewood chapter, I volunteered my tech and strategic planning skills to get us started and organized. And just like that, I became the lead organizer of Action Together Lakewood area. You might be familiar with us. We hosted the big Hate Has No Home Here rally in Lakewood after Charlottesville, and symbols of hate were spray painted in Lakewood. We've also hosted a lot of educational events around the Affordable Care Act and immigration policy, prison reform, etc. We've also led a number of rallies and organized a number of events around reuniting families and preserving healthcare, and registered voters, and done a lot of lobbying of legislators. Doing that work, it became clear we needed more legislators in all level of government and representatives who shared our values and our work ethic. And I resolved to help get them elected, which I have been doing and did. During that work, I worked with a lot of disparate groups and kind of brought them together and heard from voters and potential voters of how they could be better represented. So when the position became available on city council, a lot of neighbors encouraged me to apply for it actually. And I had a growing business to run, a teenager to raise, actions to plan. But I resolved to make it work because I wanted to have more female representation and leave a trail for those following. I was unanimously chosen and sworn in on February 18th of last year, 2020. And within weeks of being sworn in, I became concerned about this virus that was headed our way and how we could meet since there was nothing in the charter that allowed us to meet remotely. Knowing that there were technological solutions, I resolved to find legal ones, and less than a month into starting on council, I wrote my first resolution and passed it to allow us to meet remotely or reschedule meetings as needed so we could continue the people's business, especially in a state of emergency. COVID also started wreaking havoc on small businesses, including my own. So I reached out to a lot of Lakewood proprietors and resolved to do everything that I could do to help. I wrote and passed an express parking bill working with the planning division at City Hall, advocated for expanded outdoor dining, researched and promoted resources, promoted local shopping. So COVID also highlighted existing disparities, so I wrote and passed a resolution requiring council and administration to complete racial equity and social justice challenge. Just a step on the journey to making the world a more beautiful place.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you so much for sharing your story.